All right, so I think we're ready to set up our new project. So let's head on over to Figma here. If you're in the desktop app, it's super easy to create a new file. You just go up here and press the plus sign here. I'm going to open a new file. Let's go ahead and rename it to Clean Kangaroo, since that's the project we're working on here. And now we have a fresh new canvas right in front of us. What I'm going to do is go ahead and change the background color and make it slightly darker, just to kind of help create some contrast between our frames here. Let's go ahead and now set up all the frames we'll need for our project. So if I go back to my sketch that I had here, you'll see we have 7 pages that we need. So let's go ahead and set up those pages with the appropriate names, and then jump into designing our login page. So again, you create new frames by pressing F on your keyboard. So we know we're designing for a mobile mockup. Why don't we go ahead and just choose the iPhone 11 Pro. This tends to fit a lot of the new iPhone sizes as well. I'm just gonna make my background slightly lighter. I think that's good. So let's go ahead and create 7 of these pages. So the easiest way to create multiple frames from one that you already have set up is just to duplicate it by pressing Command D or Control D if you're on Windows. So I know we have a total of 7 pages, so I'll need to do this 6 more times. So let's create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we have a mockup with 7 pages. Let's go ahead and use the zoom option here and do zoom to fit. What this will do is just go ahead and just zoom out until we can see all of our frames. You can also press Shift 1 to toggle this zoom option from anywhere you are. So if I press Shift 1, you can see it will zoom to fit right there too. It's pretty handy. Let's go ahead and rename all of our frames and then jump into starting our first login page. So to rename frames or layers, you can either double click here. So we can do login. Now you can see it's changed here. Or we can just go here in our layers panel and let's do tutorial. This one will be payment. This one will be map. This is going to be our main. Or let's actually name it request. Then we have our profile. Last but not least, we have our services page. Let's just go ahead and double check that we didn't miss anything here. So login, tutorial, payment, map, request, profile, and services / past requests. I think we got everything here. So now let's go ahead and just focus on our login page. Another neat way to zoom in is just to hold the Z key on your keyboard and then go ahead and just drag over the area you want to zoom into, and that will zoom in like that. So going back to our login page, we'll need a bunch of rectangles, specifically 1 for the email, 1 for password, 1 for the login, and 2 for the sign up buttons here. So that's a total of 5 rectangles. Let's go ahead and create those and try to distribute them accordingly. So you can create rectangles by pressing R, as we learned in the previous sections. Let's go ahead and just drag one here. I think height of 55 would be nice. And then just go ahead and let go. I'm using Alt here just to see how it's positioned here. Let's just go ahead and nudge down the size here to make it 325, just so it's evenly spaced between the left and the right. I'm going to use Shift R to bring my ruler back, and then I'm going to add some guides on my left and right just to make things easier going forward. So I'm going to use Command D 4 times to duplicate this rectangle. One neat way to duplicate things is to again hold Alt and then drag away this rectangle. So let's use the arrow keys to just bring it down 3 pixels here. And then if you press Command D, it will actually go ahead and replicate that same type of duplicate and move that I did there. So let's do it 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. And now we have 5 fields or buttons here that we can use. Let's move these bottom 2 closer to the bottom. Let's move this one a little bit down. Let's go ahead and add some styling to these fields here. Let's make the fill white and then add a stroke of, I'm going to make it slightly, I think right here is good. If you want to get the exact same stroke color, go ahead and just input this hex key into your color picker for the stroke. Let's go ahead and just make it 1.5 pixels just so we can see it more easily. Select them again. And let's go ahead and round the corners to 8 pixels using here. Actually, let's do 6. I think that looks good. Let's apply the same corner radius to all of these. Again, you can hold multiple objects using Shift. Let's go ahead and add some text using the T key. Let's add a text right here and type in email. Just center that along here, and then let's just stretch it all the way through. I think that's good enough. I'm just going to duplicate it by holding Alt. And let's do password. For now, don't worry too much about the fonts and the colors because we'll come back to that in the future lessons. Right now, we're just trying to get the basics set up. Let's go ahead and duplicate this text here down to our button. And you can center the text using this option here where it says text line center. Let's make it log in. Let's do that 2 more times for our sign up with email. And lastly, sign up with Google. If I go back to my design, we have a little line here to just distinguish between the login and then the sign up sections. So let's go back and we can do a line by pressing L and just draw one right from the left side of my guide to the right one. The beautiful things about guides is that when you're getting close to them, they will snap right into place just to make sure that you have the right size for your object. One thing to also note is that when you're drawing your line, just to make sure that you're not going at weird angles here, hold Shift and it will help you keep things at the straight angle position, and let go here. And we have our line here. Just gonna make it a little bit lighter. Let's do the same C9, C9, C9. I'm just typing this in here and I think that looks good. Let's make it 1.5 in thickness. So I see here that it's actually 2 lines, one on the left, one on the right. So why don't we go ahead and duplicate that here. And then I'm gonna just drag one while holding Shift again to the middle and the other one to the middle as well. So now essentially I have 2 lines. So why don't we go ahead and use our properties panel here to get the exact sizes that we're going for here. So why don't we bring this down to 145. I think that's too little. Let's do 135. And then for this one, let's go ahead and also make it 135. And then I'm going to use Shift and then the arrow keys just to move things quickly. The Shift and arrow keys help you move shapes or objects by 10 pixels at a time. Otherwise, if you just use the arrow keys, it will do 1 pixel at a time. So feel free to use the Shift and arrow keys when you need to move things up quickly, or use the arrow key to just move things down pixel by pixel. Let's go ahead and line those up here. There we go. And let's add another text by just duplicating this one in here, making it a little bit smaller. Type in or. Go ahead and just drag that in the middle. Cool, so now we're getting the basics going. If you go back to our sketch, we're still missing the logo. We're still missing terms. We don't have a background image or the tutorial icon here. So we'll come back in the next lesson to actually complete our login page here.